Hello, today I'm just going to give you guys um, a brief presentation on just some of the different legal duties that coaches are responsible for and just what the responsibility is to take on the job as a full-time coach and just being a part of competition. The legal system, when you're coaching, there's a legal liability that you absolutely have to obey. This refers to the responsibilities and duties that coaches are responsible for when there's competition. And there's a word, negligence. So over the last 30 years, there's been countless court cases, lawsuits that athletes have bestowed on schools and just the coaches on their negligence of their job. So basically, negligence is um, what the tort law is, and that is when a coach is not fulfilling his duty as a coach. Now, there's 10 different duties that coaches are fully responsible in having. Now, the first one is properly planning the activity. When it comes to properly planning the activities, that means having a full schedule that are able to look back on and know exactly what their job is for that day and what they need to do. And it also it also plans out practice facilities and other things in that nature. So the next one is the second duty is providing proper instruction. Now, when it comes to different sports such as baseball, football, it's very important to give proper instructions so that there's no case of injuries or other things in that matter. Now, the third duty is warn inherent risks. Warn inherent risks. Now, fulfilling this duty, you have to warn your athletes of inherent risks of the sport so they know and understand the possible hazards of the sport. Now, a way to inform your athletes is to have written down videos and just repeated warnings to ensure that they know exactly what's going on. Now, the fourth duty is providing a safe physical environment. For a coach, this is very important. It's important to let no. It's important to ensure that the practice facilities are in good conditions, making sure that there's no risks of injury from just the playing facility. So part of fulfilling this duty is developing facility inspection checklists, making sure that everything is going down perfect, everything is correct and it is in its place. If there's a change in any dangerous conditions it's important to reduce that hazard. Now, a way that you can do this is you can monitor what's going on and change the rules. Just make sure that each athlete is following the rules of the facility. Now, duty five. Duty five is providing adequate and proper equipment. This is a very important duty that coaches have. It's important to have the best equipment that you could possibly buy. And the reason for this is you don't want, as for example, for baseball, you don't want an athlete using a cracked helmet because that could cause a hazard for the athlete when he's playing the sport. Now, if he has a cracked helmet, there's a chance that if he gets hit by the ball in the head, that it could be a lot more life-threatening than what it should be if the athlete had proper equipment. So it's very important that the athlete has the best equipment that they can have, and so that they and then on top of that, it's important to teach the athlete about the equipment. You have to make sure that they're properly using the equipment correctly so that there's no chance of injury. Now, duty 6 is very important. This is matching your athletes appropriately. Now, for baseball, it's not so much as important, but when it comes to sports such as football or hockey, it's very important to match up your athletes accordingly. And that comes from gender to sex to height and weight, um, and just physical maturity and technical skill as well. You don't want to set somebody up that hasn't played the game to um, and then put them against somebody that's been in the game for several years and knows what they're doing. This is very important for football because if there's a tackling drill or something in that matter, you do not want an athlete to be much bigger than the other athlete, possibly causing the other athlete to get injured. It's very bad, and then they could slap you with a negligence thing, and then the coach could get in deep trouble for doing that. Now, duty 7 is evaluate athletes from injury and from incapacity. So what this means is you don't want an athlete that says he's all right to play and then him not being able to play and then and everything just coming down on you because of that. It's tough. It's a tough situation. You want to trust your athletes. You want to be able to trust them, and if they say they're all right to play, then the coach wants them to play. But you want to properly evaluate the athlete, make sure that he is not in too much pain, and you want to provide the proper plan if he is hurt. So if the athlete is hurt, it's very important to provide an action plan, such as an emergency plan. You want to know their emergency contact information. You want to know who their doctor is and who to call if something bad were to happen. Now, duty 8 is supervise the activity closely. So basically, in this duty, it's important to fulfill your job as a supervisor of the sport. So basically, that's teaching the athlete a technique or tactical skill and then supervising them to make sure that they're doing the proper technique correctly. And this also to fulfill this duty, it's also important to provide specific supervision when teaching the athlete. Now, when you're supervising, it's very important to not condone any violent behavior or misconduct when the sport is going on. So it's important not to allow any recklessness and make sure that the athletes are getting along and doing what they're supposed to do. Now, duty 9 is provide adequate emergency assistance. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with duty 7. This one is more of the emergency plan. So getting consent from parents to let them being able to play the sport, getting that emergency contact list, and having emergency plans set up in case something bad does really happen. I mean, God forbid anything does happen to any of your athletes, but it's always important to be prepared in a dangerous situation. Now, the last duty is protecting against physical and psychological harm from others. Now, college has always been kind of a spot where athletes think it's okay to haze or bully other athletes. I think it's absolutely wrong, and I never thought it was okay to bully another person, but it does happen. So as a coach, it's very important, very, very important to supervise what's going on, making sure that you know if somebody was bullying or hazing or anything in that such a manner, because that does cause a lot of psychological harm that could last for a long time in that person's life. So if something were to happen, it's important to keep records and make sure that those incidents do not happen again. And to prevent kind of this from happening, it's important to inform all athletes that there will be no toleration of any bullying or hazing going on the team. So basically, those are the 10 duties that go into what negligence is and just what goes into the legal duties of a coach. Now, if a coach fails to abide by these rules or these duties, it could be very, very stressful for them because they could get slapped with lawsuits, ultimately getting fined, and then losing their job all in the end. So these 10 legal duties are very important in any coach's life, and it's important to stay adequate with all of it and just know the information. Thank you.